So long, man. Have a good rest.
Fuck you! Hey! Help me! Taking maybe one step more. I'll let it off to my next friend.
Friday.
Actually, it's Saturday.
It's time for the Don Tony Show.
You've waited all week, and now it's finally here. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and beyond.
And now, your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
Will he be drafted to Raw? Will he be drafted to Raw? Seth Rollins, man. I take pride that I've been a fan of his for a very long time. I think people are only starting to figure out Seth Rollins now. Good evening, everybody. It is Saturday night. Now, I am starting this a couple of minutes early. My apologies. Want to get this done as quickly as possible because actually I'm going out tonight. Yes, believe it or not. DT is going out around 10 o'clock. So tonight's show should only run about an hour, 90 minutes at the utmost, especially after what went down with that draft yesterday. I mean, thank God that they did a little bit of a supplemental draft today because quite honestly, I don't know how much we would have really been able to talk about last night's draft. You know, a lot of it was Captain Obvious. You know, Roman Reigns and Big E being drafted 1-2. Pretty obvious. Are they going to do what they did last year with the New Day and the Street Profits? Are we going to have Becky Lynch move to Raw and, hey, we'll just change titles? Or will Charlotte drop the title before she is permanently on SmackDown? Will Becky, well, we don't know if she's going to be officially drafted yet, but I'll say this. You know, the more that I pay attention to how the sausage is made, especially on YouTube, the more I figure out the level of fake that's going on or absolute ignorance. Everybody out there already knows that Becky Lynch was the emergency pinch hitter for Sasha Banks when Sasha could not take on Bianca Belair at SummerSlam. And if you remember, since SummerSlam, since that night, we talked about if Sasha Banks returns, would not be surprised if Becky Lynch ends up going to Raw like she was originally supposed to. Remember the storyline. Remember how they were chanting, Becky, Becky, and Charlotte was feeding into it and trolling the fans. This was before Sasha Banks took another hiatus. So now Sasha Banks is back. Becky Lynch, now the SmackDown champion. In the end, Bianca Belair is going to benefit from this. You think WWE is just going to get away with moving Bianca back to Raw and not have some type of revenge in some capacity? She lost yesterday on SmackDown. Don't you think? How come people are not like irate about Bianca Belair's treatment anymore? Did you see the net going out in droves yesterday? Yeah, of course we had a little bit of interference, but still, think about it. So everybody now is acting like, oh, gee, I wonder if they're going to draft Becky to SmackDown, and if they do, what are they going to do about the title? I mean, everybody knew this was an audible when Sasha couldn't appear. So in 48 hours, we will know what the remaining picks are. Shout out to everybody, by the way, who is live. I know Saturday night is not the greatest night to be hanging out and socializing. At least it's not Rampage time zones. By the way, now people are making excuses for Rampage being on from 10 p.m. to midnight. Come on, man. For 6 months, everybody knew that time slot was coming, and nobody for 6 months. You know what I can't stand about a lot of people out there? And I think a lot of you will agree with me on this. I am an AEW fan, and I support AEW big time. What I don't like, and it turns my stomach and it turns me off, when you have people out there that you know are very insecure about AEW, and I'll tell you why. If AEW is so good, and I believe it is, it's got growing pains, no question. It's got growing pains. We just talked about it earlier this week. They had 80 people on their show Wednesday. 80. But I don't need people to tell me, when was the last time a wrestling show sold 20,000 seats that wasn't WWE? When was the last time the demographics did this? When was the last time it did this? When was the last time? It's been 1970. Stop fucking trying to convince me, okay, I get it. Not only am I supposed to like AEW, I'm supposed to drink the Kool-Aid. We'll keep it PG tonight. Shut up. Shut up. I like AEW. We like AEW. We don't need people to give us 1,001 reasons why AEW is fucking awesome. If you're proud and you're loud, do it. But, you see these people going on other people's threads and posting these things on other people's walls and this and that, like trying to give us 5,000 reasons why AEW, it has to be good. It's the best. It's the elite. It's this. It's it. Shut up. Let me give my own reasons why I like it. I don't need yours. I don't need yours. It's so annoying. And the best part is the people who call out these people, but they'll just do it over and over. They're doing this. They feed on those people because they need the attention. It's not fanboys, Ben. It's far, far different than fanboys. Far different than fanboys. But anyway, let's talk mostly today about the draft. I think I fixed the phone issues. Apparently, my privacy settings in my computer, on my phone, I guess conflict with the software program because the phone system that I have has Do Not Disturbs on there as well. So even if I enable or disable Do Not Disturb, but if I have other settings that still are on, it will block the program. So if you want to call in tonight and give your thoughts about night one of the draft and the supplemental draft, you'll have an opportunity in a few minutes. Again, there's no reason for me to spend 2 hours talking about this because it's not worth it. Let's be honest. Hopefully it works. I should have tested it, but I didn't have enough time tonight. Now, I worked on this, and the funny thing is, if you're looking at your screen, and for those, my audio-only friends out there, I will read it, so no worries. But, when I originally made the thumbnail for tonight's show, I only had the left side visible, which was the draft results from yesterday. All right? Now, I didn't really want to put it in first round, second round, third round, fourth round. It doesn't matter. I mean, whoever's drafted is drafted. I had this up, and then around 11 o'clock today, 11 o'clock this morning, my phone starts blowing up a little bit. Hey, did you see the supplemental draft? No. Go check it out. And I see all these additional names. I'm like, damn it. Now I got to redo the whole damn thing. I originally wanted to comment a little bit about Rampage, but honestly, Rampage was a decent show yesterday. I mean, there wasn't much coming out of it. The commercial interruptions during the women's match was awful yesterday. Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson was a phenomenal match. I don't think anybody would have thought otherwise, but you give me that same type of match week in and week out and week in and week out and week in and week out and week in and week out. They don't feel as special as they used to. but it was still a fun match. I am not criticizing it at all. And obviously, because they didn't want to pay Matt Hardy enough for it, Jack Evans had to have his head shaved yesterday instead of Matt Hardy. Because the whole feud was Jack Evans versus Orange Cassidy, right? And I'm winking my eye right now, even though you can't see that. But other than that, I will say this, in a moment, we'll talk about this. We'll have some fun with this casino ladder match that's going to be coming up Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to it. But first, let's talk about the draft. By the way, shout out to everybody who is joining me right now from all different platforms. Now, the captain obvious of this, Roman Reigns, Big E drafted 1 and 2. Okay. Roman Reigns remains on SmackDown. Big E remains on Raw. Charlotte Flair is then drafted to SmackDown. Oh, wait, she's the Raw Women's Champion. Now, one thing that we did not know yesterday is we did not know when these draft choices were going to go into effect. Because remember, I think we are going to get Big E, and I'll go back to that list in a couple of moments, but everybody pretty much saw the list. I mean, I'm going to go into it one by one now anyway. In fact, you know what? Maybe if it looks good like this, it's kind of small, but that's okay. We're talking right now. You don't have to really look at anything. I still believe that we're going to get Drew McIntyre versus Big E on Monday. So I said, okay, if the draft happens Friday and Drew McIntyre is drafted to SmackDown, which he was my strong pick to go to SmackDown. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious, that he had done everything he could on Raw. But I thought, okay, if these draft choices kick into effect right away, what are you going to do about Big E versus Drew McIntyre on Raw Monday if they didn't announce the match yet? So I expected at some point during this week, they would announce the match. Monday on Raw, Drew McIntyre versus Big E. And even if Drew or Big E is drafted to SmackDown, the match still goes on. We didn't get that. What we got instead was Megan Morant early in the day Friday says, oh, the night after Crown Jewel is when the draft picks go into effect. So even though Charlotte is on SmackDown right now, drafted, I should say, she's still competing on Raw for the next 3 weeks, about 3 weeks. Well, actually, no, a little less than 3 weeks, because remember, Crown Jewel's on a Thursday. That Friday is where the draft officially kicks in. So we have 2 more Raws with the current roster as it is. And then the night after Crown Jewel, that's when everything kicks in. So Charlotte could very well lose that title in the next couple of weeks, as can Becky. Remember, Crown Jewel. We have Becky versus Bianca versus Sasha for the Women's Championship. So a title change could happen the day before, and then Becky goes to Raw, if that happens. And, well, yeah, see, that throws a little monkey wrench in because Bianca's already been drafted to Raw. So the day after, it would have to kick it. But then again, they could still trade the titles like they did last year with the Street Profits and the New Day. So bottom line is, we have to wait until Monday to see what the remaining of the draft is and what the supplemental draft is. And then we could pretty much put 2 and 2 together. But I know that trading of titles like they did last year with the Street Profits and the New Day, I thought that was one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen as far as titles being treated. But it also shows you that wrestling fans are not that deep into this. You didn't have wrestling fans in droves. You see this dumb shit? I'm not watching WWE anymore. They just traded the titles. What a stupid, lazy move. I'm not watching it. That's it. That the straw that broke the camel's back. I've had it up to here. They're so stupid. They don't even think or care anymore. No, people are like, oh, that's stupid. But we tuned in the next day. So if they do it again, yes, it's lazy. It is absolutely lazy. But we're still going to tune in. Everything is entertainment. No, Rodney Dangerfield. I got no respect, I tell you. I saw this girl. She said, come over tonight. Nobody will be home. I went over there. Nobody was home. I love Rodney. He's great. I was watching Rodney the other day, but let's keep focus on the draft. So Charlotte Flair gets drafted to SmackDown. Bianca gets drafted to Raw. Drew McIntyre gets drafted to SmackDown. RK Bro remains on Raw. And while all this is going on, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. Just common sense. Where is Brock Lesnar fit in all of this? Brock Lesnar's promo yesterday on SmackDown declaring himself a free agent, that should have been said 5 minutes into the show yesterday. This way, it understands early on why nobody was picking Brock Lesnar. But the draft yesterday was lazy. It was lazy. Other than the Captain Obvious, you're better off just saying the heavyweight champions stay on their brand. Period. But they obviously, when you look back at the annals of history, Roman Reigns was drafted number 1. Big E was drafted number 2. That's supposed to have weight when you go back and look at someone's resume. The New Day get drafted to SmackDown. And when I say the New Day, I mean Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Yes, everyone, once again, WWE has broken up the New Day. Last year, you had Big E, Xavier, Kofi in the ring crying. They're splitting us up, but we'll never split up. And then Big E wins the heavyweight championship. He's now on Raw. Oh my God, we could have the Bloodline versus the Hurt Business versus the New Day. We could have all these few. Big E moved to. Well, Big E remains on Raw. The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods moved to SmackDown. So, yeah, they can pop up and bump into each other on joint pay-per-views in the future. And, yes, you might get some Raw or SmackDown dark matches where they reunite. But as far as TV goes, the most over 3-man band in recent memory, it's such an easy match to put together. The only explanation I could make is WWE wants to focus on Big E as a heavyweight champion, single star, and that's why they forced the narrative. What are you going to do? Put the Street Profits on Raw? I mean, how does that make things better? Oh my God, if the Usos just think about this that nobody thought about yesterday. If the Usos remain on SmackDown, remember what Roman Reigns said yesterday. If you two get drafted on Raw, leave Paul Heyman laying. If the Usos get drafted to remain on SmackDown, they get drafted to SmackDown and remain on SmackDown, we're going to have, again, Usos versus New Day matches over and over and over and over and over. At least when you had 3-on-3 and you're incorporating Roman Reigns and Big E, it adds a nice little spice to it. But you mean to tell me that the Street Profits will benefit if they go to Raw? It was last year when we had all that Viking shit with them on Raw and all those skits. I mean, you know what it feels like? And I guarantee you a lot of people never thought of it like this. It feels like last year when we still had Thunderdome and it was COVID and they couldn't tour and everything. Oh, let's just take some people on Raw and put them over on SmackDown. And once we start getting back into the groove of touring and everything, let's just throw them back on Raw. Switch it right back. What happened to the Demon yesterday? I thought we were supposed to get some type of explanation. Nothing. So, Edge gets drafted to Raw. And I'm not nitpicking. I loved Seth Rollins in Edge's house yesterday. I loved Seth Rollins taking out the juice, looking at the picture, the family portrait. I honestly thought that was a joke. I honestly thought that they put that up there so Seth Rollins could tear it down or burn it down. But he's in the house and he's checking everything out. And Edge sees it on the Titantron. He runs to the back. Now, when he first ran to the back, I said, what are you going to do, run all the way home? What are you, Forrest Gump? You going to run? You going to have this even bigger beard? But then we show him on the phone. He got Beth Phoenix on the phone. I don't care what groceries you have. Go to your brother's house. Do not go home. Seth is there. And to me, I'm a stickler to detail. Oh, I already called John. I called Robert. I called Jesus Christ. They're all going over there. Motherfucker doesn't call the cops. The first words, this reminds me of these social media groups. Somebody threatened my family. Oh, what are you doing about it? I'm going to do what everybody else does. I'm going to tweet. I'm going to complain. No, I'm not going to call the cops. I'm not going to call the FBI. Why do you think I never got a thank you from that guy when I filed 2 FBI complaints? Because the guy was full of shit. He was full of shit. Everybody knows it, but nobody wants to call out anybody on there because you never know on the opposite side of the computer why people have that sick, this sick loneliness. Like, oh, I'll claim that people are threatening my family, so I get 1,000 people to say to me, oh, that's not right. We care about you. We're thinking about you. People should never do that to you, and it feels good. I feel wanted. I feel like the fake family I don't have that everybody gives a shit about. Not even a thank you for contacting the FBI. Nothing. These people don't go to the cops. Edge on the phone yesterday. I called the neighbor. I called the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. He doesn't call the cops. Dumb segment. Done segment. I told you, it's like you're about to have great sex and everything set up to it is picture perfect. And then you call the cops. You call the cops. So anyway, Edge is drafted to Raw. I think this storyline with Edge and Seth Rollins needs to continue. Now, yes, it could continue for 2 more weeks. Now, WWE is trolling this preview pick for Monday. It's interesting that they put Seth and Beth. I just realized that rhymes. Seth and Beth. I wonder if anybody ever, I'm sure thousands of people have. Seth and Beth, right next to each other. A lot of people think if Becky, oh, did I say Beth? Forget me. Seth, oh, wait, no, with the storyline with Edge, Seth and Beth. Seth and Beth. But that's Becky with Seth Rollins. A lot of people are saying if Becky Lynch goes to Raw, her husband's got to go with her. They got to be together. Why? Why? I mean, sure, they would enjoy their company more, but it's not always a given. It's not always a given. But they're trolling with that picture because a lot of people think Seth Rollins, look, Seth Rollins got to pull a couple of strings and he's got to get himself on Raw. Look, the storyline could go 2 more weeks and then be done. So even if they don't draft Seth Rollins to Raw, they could still do the storyline for 2 more weeks. In fact, I don't know if Edge is going to Saudi Arabia. I don't know. If he does, though, we could very well end up having some big stipulation match between Seth Rollins and Edge. Now, little curveball, since I mentioned Saudi Arabia. Some, I think, pretty decent news came out yesterday. We talked about it in the summertime, and it is now official. Let me see if I have the banner over here. Do I have the banner? I think I have the banner. They're going to have 2 tournaments. Yeah, sort by, date modified. I don't have the banner. That's okay. Well, you could look at... Well, I don't have it. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to discuss it with Mish on Monday anyway. We're going to have King of the Ring return, and we're going to have the Queen's Crown tournament. Yes, the door was unlocked as well. Yes, that's right. They left the door unlocked. Morons. Seriously, I don't know. Look, I like Seth Rollins. That I enjoyed the segment yesterday. I can't criticize that, but why overthink things? Why not the opposite? I already called the cops. And you know what? What Seth Rollins should have done is Seth Rollins should have turned SmackDown on the TV. And it could have been like that bad Spaceballs moment with Rick Moranis when he looks into the TV. When did this happen? Just now. And Seth Rollins could have seen Edge on the TV telling his wife, I just called the cops. And then Seth Rollins would have heard that and Seth Rollins would have left. It would have made perfect answers to how you finish that segment out. But no, that's too hard to think of. I know. He ate the apple. He drank the juice. He sat on the couch, turned on the fireplace. Edge, look, give credit, man. At least Edge is not on a reality show with Beth. Edge to the top or, an edge away from the top. Like outdated or out of touch Brandy and Cody. Out of touch. Wasn't that a Hall and Oates song? Out of touch. You're out of touch. I'm not out of time yet. I know you don't call the cops for real, but still. I tell you, I wonder if any fans called the cops yesterday. I'm not joking. I'll never forget some of those NWO segments where people actually called the cops. When they did that infamous one where everybody was brawling in the back, it might have even been the same night where Kevin Nash threw Rey Mysterio in the side of the trailer like a dart. Fans called the cops that night. No joke. People actually called the cops. And it was funny because a newspaper covered it the next day, and they were trying to keep kayfabe about it. If you do a search on newspapers.com, you can read the article. It's pretty funny. But they tried to keep it kayfabe, and the police chief is like, we received the calls and we're looking into the matter. WCW had permits, so they didn't get in any trouble. So anyway, so now Edge, now we can put this back on the screen. So Edge gets drafted to Raw. And honestly, so far, things seem pretty common sense, with the exception of Brock Lesnar, because they waited too long into the show to explain why Brock Lesnar is not drafted almost immediately. So here's where the dumb shit starts coming in. Happy Corbin and Fanboy Moss, whatever they're calling is angry boy Moss, whatever it is. They get drafted next. And I'm looking at both rosters and I'm saying to myself, I mean, yes, not every person was available. There was only a select group of people available for Friday's draft. But still, when you look at everybody else on that list and you see Corbin and Moss drafted, like, give me a fucking break. Then Rhea Ripley, Nikki A.S.H, they remain on Raw. Fine. No issues with that whatsoever. Hit Row get drafted from NXT to SmackDown. Now, I got a kick out of yesterday. I'm not going to lie to you. Even though I wasn't doing a show yesterday, I got a kick out of yesterday of all the people that do not give a shit about NXT, that had nothing nice to say about Hit Row for the last couple of months. And suddenly they're all acting like Hit Row were like assaulted, like just the worst has happened to them. Suddenly they care. It's a weird thing. I guess they thought it was going to be a major news story. Number one, I got a kick out of WWE piping in all those fake crowd cheers when Hit Row was announced as being drafted. Because thank you, Johnny, who was at the show yesterday, sent me a bunch of cell phone footage when they announced Hit Row. And what's that old saying in wrestling? And the crowd goes mild. Not much of a reaction. My thoughts on Hit Row going to SmackDown, I'll keep it simple. It's not a black thing when I say this. I think of the Street Profits. I think of the New Day. Then I think of Hit Row's promo from Tuesday. And I mentioned this Tuesday night on Patreon. And look, I don't want anybody to think when I say Patreon, I swear I'm not saying to try to get anybody to sign up there. It just so happens Tuesday is Patreon night. Tuesday is right after NXT airs. So everybody's got NXT on the brain. That's why we talk about it more than anything. But when they cut that promo Tuesday, and each one of them has got the microphone, and they're talking about how it's ladies' night. Oh, yeah. We got 3 championship matches tonight. Uh-huh. Oh, and then Roderick Strong's going to be defending his championship. Word. And then later on tonight, Raquel Gonzalez versus Frankie Monet. You say it, child. And blah, 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 blah. Uh-huh. I'm like, this is like Street Profit shit, New Day stuff. It is going to fizzle out quicker than a candle in a rainstorm. I just thought of that. What a bad rehearsal on Tuesday for them. Forced, choreographed, too scripted. They haven't tried that in front of 20,000 fans yet. If you pay attention, and listen, please hear me out because I'm not disrespecting Hit Row. I'm very happy for them. I'm dead serious. I'm very happy for them. This is going to be an ultimate challenge for all 4 members. And guess what? I think Isaiah Swerve Scott will knock it out of the park. AJ Francis, they got to be very careful with. Because when they did that freestyle that day, you know, some people either absolutely loved it or they absolutely hated it. Hopefully B-Fab is not B-Fad. F-A-D, a fad. Because the thing is, they did not test this like what the Street Profits were doing. They would open up the show. SmackDown, Raw, tonight we're going to have blah, 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 and they'd be in the ring with the cups. We want the smoke. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. What faction are they going to feud with? Are we going to have 8-man tags? No, because you have a female involved. You have 6-man tags. Who's the third? My worry is that 6 months from now, you will see, not saying a total split, but you will see many nights where only one of 2 of them will be in action. And little by little, I think you're going to see, I picture SmackDown. And obviously the New Day are going to be on SmackDown too. So the New Day are going to help elevate these guys up a little bit. But the problem I have with all of this is that, you know, I'll compare it to minor leagues. Okay. You're playing minor league baseball. You usually get called up when you're on fire. He's on fire. That's basketball. Boom shakalaka. I was playing NBA Jam the other day. That's why I'm thinking about it. But when you're in the minor leagues, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, hockey, you hear rumors, AAA rumors. Oh, blah, 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 is batting 1,000, 500, 300. He's hitting all these home runs. You know what? We're at the end of the season. Let's call this person up. Let's see what he can do on the main roster. Fine. With wrestling, when OVW was going on, Heartland Wrestling Association, Florida Championship Wrestling back in the day. Well, let's stick to OVW. Wow, we got these. I will never, ever forget it to the day I die. Linda McMahon on a conference call 20 some odd years ago, talking about, you know, what stars are coming up of tomorrow. Linda McMahon said, we have these 2 wrestlers, Randy Orton and John Cena, who we truly feel are the future of tomorrow. And what happened? They didn't get brought up to the main roster a week later. They were in OVW. They were seasoned. They worked. John Cena looked like $1 million. Randy Orton looked like a baby, an AWOL baby. You know, Batista was, you know, doing his deal, Leviathan. And, you know, you think of Brock Lesnar as well, who was green as fuck. And guess what? They waited and waited until the trainers in OVW when WWE, Tom Pritchard and others, I think he was one of them, contacted him and said, "You think these guys are ready?" And they were there like almost giggly. They knew these guys were ready for the next step. They weren't ready to be heavyweight champion. Kurt Angle. I always talked about this. I found the Black Hearts Hotline episode that myself, Mad Zombie, and Brian Damage did the next day. We went to Madison Square Garden, the Black Hearts. Me, Mad Zombie, Brian Damage, Timmy Arson, God rest his soul, the ECW Zombie. All four of us, the four horsemen of the wrestling hotline scene. We went to Madison Square Garden. And one of the dark matches featured Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar. And they were not very good. And this was them testing them out. It took still a long time for them to really make it. You look at Hit Row and the feud they've been having with Legado del Fantasma. The reason why a lot of people got into that feud was the clash of cultures. Lucha Libre versus hip-hop. It was a clash of cultures. That's what people got into it more than anything. You look at B-Fab versus Elektra Lopez on Tuesday. Excuse me for a minute. He's gonna puke. It wasn't that bad. You do that on SmackDown. And you see how the social media world reacts to that. It was not very good. Even when everybody else was interfering, it was not very good. But people were into the feud because of the clash of cultures. What are you going to do on SmackDown? What are you going to do? So I'm a little confused as to why they made this move. I'm confused. I'm absolutely confused. Look at the crowd reaction. Please, if you don't watch NXT on a weekly basis, if you did not see this past Tuesday, I beg you, it's on YouTube. Just watch the opening segment with Hit Row hyping up that NXT episode. Like I said earlier, tonight the ladies take over. And look at that crowd reaction. That crowd reaction was not very receptive at all. I can't see this group being baby faces on SmackDown. They're not going to get the loud cheers, like Street Profits used to hype everybody up, or even the Usos used to do it, and New Day used to do it. So believe me, it's not a black thing at all. But I'm totally confused about this. Confused. I don't know what the rush was. I don't know what the rush was unless WWE really, and think about this. This is very important. Look at the rest of the NXT roster. I challenge any of you out there right now who watches NXT on a regular basis. I say to you, who would have Hit Row feuded with next? Diamond Mind? Are you kidding me? You look at it and you say, wow, what could they have done? Well, maybe Isaiah Swerve Scott could have started feuding with Kushida or somebody else. And what about the other members? You can't even do Tian Sha. Miyang. I don't think there was anything else for Hit Row to feud with. So I don't know, man. I am left confused with this. But again, you look at everybody who was available in the draft, and you think of all the NXT stars that were available for the draft, and we're supposed to believe that since Fox was the ones drafting yesterday, storyline obviously, and USA Network, oh man, I would have seriously canceled my wedding, take all the money I put aside so far, and contributed yesterday, donated it to something. If we would have seen right after they drafted Hit Row, the War Room, and see that fucking Fox robot go, Hit Row. Give me, man. This is where it just went downhill. Keith Bearcat Lee, remains on Raw. I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. I think he will turn heel and he will feud with Big E. We've been talking about that for a while. Dominik and Rey Mysterio going to Raw. That was one that we talked about the other day. By the way, for everybody out there, who participated in the contest, obviously anybody that alters their entry, edits it in any way, your entry is no longer good. So let's play it out and see what happens on Raw with the draft picks. Then we'll see who wins. My picks so far, not all that spectacular. Couple, I'll show you mine for those that may not remember them. I'll show you in a minute. Let me just get into the remaining draft picks. But Rey and Dominik, I think we all said that they should be going to Raw, and they are, without a doubt. There's nothing else for them to do on SmackDown. Jeff Hardy goes to SmackDown, which honestly is not a bad decision because Jeff Hardy is still so freaking over. And Fox SmackDown is your number one brand. It's been the number one brand for well over a year now. So just in the popularity role, I could see Jeff Hardy. And by the way, Isaiah Swerve Scott, people are like, oh, he has North American title right now. Yeah, not in 3 weeks. Not in 3 weeks. So when people are like, oh, what are you going to do? Now NXT lost the North American title. But he didn't. He didn't. William Regal could say, you're drafted to NXT, you have to be stripped of the championship. I mean, why do people not overthink when belts just get traded like last year with the New Day and the Street Profits? But when it comes to Isaiah Swerve Scott, they can't understand, like, either he loses the title in the next 3 weeks or William Regal strips him of the title. And new tournament. End of story. That's it. It's not rocket science. So Jeff Hardy going to SmackDown, I like it. Austin Theory going to Raw, I like it too. Austin Theory's been doing a ton of dark matches. They have been prepping him for the main roster. So good. Austin Theory, I'm a fan. And, a lot of people forget that Austin Theory was on Raw for a little while. And who knows, if Seth Rollins gets drafted back to Raw, who knows? We might see a little interaction between the two. Now, this is why we got to wait for Monday also. The supplemental draft went down today. And some of these picks, not everybody's going to be happy about. Nia Jax remains on Raw. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Shayna Baszler. We don't know if that's why it's so important. We got to wait till Monday to see what the draft. Remember, 48 hours from now, Mish and I will be up here talking about the draft. And guess what? While we're doing the show live, supplemental picks will probably be coming in. So we'll probably know about those as well. But Nia Jax stays on Raw. And honestly, I don't know how you would have appeased anybody out there. If she would have went to SmackDown, people would be like, oh, no, why is she going to SmackDown for? And then you have her on Raw. Oh, why is she staying on Raw? So she can't win. But Nia Jax right now stays on Raw. And this is why even more, like I say, with the supplemental draft. Shayna Baszler just destroyed Nia Jax and Eva Marie. So what does the USA Network War Room do? Oh, let's draft the person with the fucked up arm right now. That's why it gets stupid very quickly. John Morrison will stay on Raw as well. Good. I like Morrison on Raw. No word if Ricochet or anyone else, if they're going to remain on Raw as well, but I would not have wanted John Morrison and Jeff Hardy both drafted to SmackDown. So John Morrison staying on Raw, I'm fine with. The Alpha Academy coming to Raw. Big boys. Raw is where the big boys play. If you remember our predictions 2 weeks ago, two people that both Mish and I said got to go to Raw. Not the Alpha Academy, But Apollo Crews and General Azeez. And what was the fantasy match that we wanted to see? I saw everybody writing today, oh, Azeez and Crews, they get a feud with Rated RK Bro. I'm like, no. We got to see ourselves a little bit of AJ Styles and Omos versus Apollo Crews and General Azeez. So we got the big boys coming to Raw. We have the Alpha Academy coming to Raw. So Otis will be on Raw as well. A lot of big men. Toni Storm will remain on SmackDown. And I had her going to Raw. But one thing we also said, for everybody that was disgruntled that Toni Storm was not being used all that much right now, you might remember somebody called in about a week ago, and I said, I think WWE's waiting until the draft. Once the draft goes down, that's when you'll see Toni Storm really let loose. So she stays on SmackDown. Drew Gulak goes to SmackDown. Honestly, I don't know what you do with Drew Gulak. I like Drew Gulak. It just feels like he is going to be fed to some people. I don't, without the 24/7 title on SmackDown, I'll tell you why in a minute. Drew Gulak, I honestly don't know what you do with him on SmackDown. All right, here's something that not a lot of people are thrilled about. Suddenly, everybody cares about T-Bar and Mace. T-Bar remains on Raw. Mace goes to SmackDown. So now you got Retribution, the final, the two members of Retribution, T-Bar and Mace. They have now split up. I don't know what you do about T-Bar. I laugh when people say, this was one of the funniest things that I read today. I saw all these people commenting about Dijakovic, and they're like, oh, maybe he'll go back to his old gimmick. And go back to the tweets when Dominik Dijakovic was Dominik Dijakovic. And what did everybody say? What did the same goofs say? They say, oh, Dominik Dijakovic has no character. All he does is he wrestles. And Fight Forever is not going to work on the main roster. You have to be more of a character. And people are like, oh, he may go back to his old character. These are the same people that said he had no character. So Dominik Dijakovic, I don't know. I mean, I don't need to tell you, I've sung the praise for Dijakovic forever. For real. Dijakovic staying on Raw. With the Land of the Giants, I don't know where he fits in. I don't know where he fits in. Akira Tozawa remains on Raw. As I said already, Apollo Crews and General Azeez go to Raw. Doudrop remains on Raw. R-Truth. I just realized. I have to add somebody's name to this list a little bit later. Because somebody that was added to SmackDown, and I'll be honest with you, it's probably my favorite pick of them all. So I'm going to have to add a name to that thumbnail later. I just realized it. But I'll get to that person in a minute. R-Truth stays on Raw. Reggie stays on Raw. Drake Maverick, I guess he would be an NXT call-up, even though he appeared a few times on Raw. Mustafa Ali and Mansoor, they would not move to SmackDown as a tag team. They listed them as individual names, which makes me think that one-on-one match could very well still happen in Saudi Arabia that we talked about before. But I love the idea of Mustafa Ali and Mansoor on SmackDown. Very, very diverse roster on SmackDown. If you really look at that roster, very diverse. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Zelina Vega goes to Raw. And remember, I wanted Zelina Vega to manage Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. So if those two guys do not get drafted to SmackDown, I could see Zelina Vega managing those two guys. So I'm enjoying it. So now the one person out of everybody on the supplemental draft that I think is a good idea more than anything because of something that almost nobody is talking about. Aaliyah is drafted to SmackDown. Aaliyah has been featured in a lot of dark matches, and Aaliyah's been getting a great response from the fans and from management. Now, why do I think that this is one of my favorite picks in the supplemental draft? I'll tell you why. Think back to Extreme Rules. Think back to what I said about Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan has got organically the fans on her side big time. Yes, SmackDown yesterday, they ended up not having a match. Her and Carmella with that dumb mask. By the way, you realize we only had 3 matches on SmackDown yesterday? 3. You think they're going to start taking notice, all these other shows out there? We've noticed for the last 6 weeks that WWE has been heavily skits and far less matches because they've been giving the live fans an extra dark match or 2. Or 2 dark matches before the show, and then the big loaded dark match after the show goes off the air. We had 3 matches yesterday. 3. So, what I said about Liv Morgan right after the night of Extreme Rules is Liv Morgan has improved substantially. Liv Morgan, the fans are behind her. And my worry is, how is Liv Morgan going to leapfrog Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Asuka, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Bayley when she returns? I said the night of Extreme Rules, if Liv Morgan is going to have gold in the near future, it's got to be a women's tag team championship. By having Aaliyah moved to SmackDown officially, you can have Liv Morgan and Aaliyah team up. They are very, very close friends. Very close friends. I could see them winning tag team gold in a matter of months. Seriously. I think your money is to give Aaliyah and Liv Morgan a run as a tag team and see how it goes. And guess what? You know, now with Zelina Vega being moved to Raw, Carmella, we don't know what the deal is with Carmella. Remember, not everybody got drafted yet. So we got to see what happens there. But you still have Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Nox, who technically I think are due a tag team title shot. Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H are still Raw stars, but they compete on SmackDown because they're tag champs. But I think Liv Morgan and Aaliyah would be a pretty damn good tag team. So I don't know why, but for me, out of the supplemental picks, Aaliyah is the one that I think could be the big name out of all of them. Seriously, I look at this list, up and down the list. Mansoor and Mustafa Ali, absolutely. I am really enjoying their work. Other than that, you know, Apollo Crews and General Azeez, yeah, but, you know, that they're on Raw. But other than that, Toni Storm, yeah, I could see good things happening to her. But again, she's got to leapfrog a lot of people. And we don't have a women's intercontinental championship. So that is your supplemental draft as well. So, you know, when you really look at it in a common sense way, I mean, you know, you see the names that were not, and by the way, anybody who is not drafted is classified as a free agent, which means they can compete wherever they want. Now, let's flash back to 2 weeks ago. I'll show you what my picks were and Mish's. Now, our picks, let me make this clear. What this contest was and what we were doing, we were not choosing anybody that was going to stay on their brand. We were forced to choose names that we thought were going to switch brands. So that's why when you see this, the idea is that everybody on this list switches a brand. Not everybody has been drafted yet. And even though I said I think Naomi, they got to troll it and put her back on Raw, do not be surprised if WWE does a quote-unquote trade where Sonya Deville trades her to Raw. But you know what the weird thing about that? Here's the flaw with that storyline. Yesterday, Naomi got drafted to SmackDown. And Sonya Deville's like, well, this wasn't my choice. And she wasn't thrilled about it. Now, if Sonya Deville were to trade Naomi back to Raw, Sonya Deville is not solely for SmackDown. She works both brands. So in Sonya Deville's eyes, you put Naomi in NXT or she's gone completely. So even if Sonya Deville were to put Naomi on Raw, that doesn't mean they still don't interact with each other. Remember, Sonya Deville's not SmackDown. She's WWE. So there's kind of a little bit of a flaw with that storyline. But as far as who we thought were going to be changing brands, now we'll revisit this list on Monday once we have all the drafts done. Let me just take this banner out of here. Okay. We thought switching brands. Nia Jax, I was wrong. Drew McIntyre, which was my strong pick, yes, he moved to SmackDown. Asuka, Bobby Lashley, MVP, Elias, Sheamus, Carrillo, Angel Garza, none of them have been drafted yet, so we do not know. John Morrison, I thought he would move to SmackDown. He remains on Raw. That's wrong. Naomi, I thought they would troll her, put her back on Raw. That has not happened. Toni Storm, I thought would be moved to Raw. That is not happening. Happy Corbin, honestly, I would have preferred neither Raw or SmackDown. The Mysterios on Raw, yes. And Brock Lesnar, since he's going to be a free agent, Brock Lesnar could appear wherever he wants, which means he could show up on Raw. On Mish's side, Eva Marie has not been drafted yet. Nia Jax, that was wrong. Asuka, MVP, Bobby Lashley, Elias, Jackson Riker, Karrion Kross, Bayley. All of them have not been drafted yet. Toni Storm remains on SmackDown. His strong pick was Apollo Crews and General Azeez. So they are on Raw, so he was spot on with that. Cesaro has not been drafted yet, and Kevin Owens has not been drafted yet. So honestly, almost all of our picks have not been drafted yet. So that is basically what we're looking at. As far as an episode of SmackDown, it was a fun episode. The interaction with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar was excellent. Roman Reigns teasing that Paul Heyman will be left for dead on Raw if the Usos get drafted. I mean, that gives a nice little twist in his storyline, even though I do not think Paul Heyman will be left for dead. That's not happening. So, Sasha and Bianca had an excellent match yesterday. Becky Lynch on the commentator's booth. I think Becky tried a little bit too hard to be the Beckster, you know, and at times, you know, it was a little but she's been gone for a while. And this character change is something new. I think of Roman Reigns early on when they started changing his character. You know, it didn't fit. And little by little, Roman Reigns was finding his spot, finding it, and boom, off to the races. I give Becky Lynch that leash as well because she's been, at times, the number one entertainer for WWE. So I don't have too much of a problem. Twix, Tessa Blanchard is not a WWE star, so she will not be drafted to either of those brands. Now, something I was saying earlier, and it's happening next week. Again, people need to stop saying, oh, AEW is responsible for this. Yeah, AEW is responsible to convince fans to set records for Madison Square Garden's gate. I mean, think about that. Fans are going to WWE shows because they like WWE. Period. They're not going to WWE show saying, well, you know what, I wasn't going to go today because I expected it to suck. But since AEW has been killing it on Dynamite, I expect WWE to pull out all the stops. What does that even mean? Pull out all the stops. What, 3 matches instead of 6 or 7? Dumb draft picks? Tell me when it's pulled. You just break that down. It doesn't make sense. People are going to the shows they go to because they enjoy it. You know, some people like this soap opera aspect of it. Roger Rubio, thank you very much, my friend. Much love. I will definitely have some coffee tomorrow. Definitely. Thank you, my friend. But, you know, AEW is more about in-ring and more about the match quality. WWE is more about the storyline. It's not rocket science. I mean, you look at the crowds, they are much different. You know, and that's it. That's it. There's no master explanation for it. But in 1 week, WWE is kicking off King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown tournament. If you want to put, you know, semantics on it, King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. That's what they're doing. Now, I'll talk about it a little bit more on Monday because I want to have the conversation with Mish as far as who we think is going to win this. But remember, if you look at the video that WWE played yesterday in the commercial, you go on their YouTube and watch the video. If you look at the graphic about the Queen's Crown tournament, that crown has all the colors of Saudi Arabia. So the finals of this tournament, probably both, is happening in Saudi Arabia. Remember what I brought up last week. Crown Jewel is the only WWE pay-per-view in October. There is no other pay-per-view. So Crown Jewel is going to be stacked with big-time matches, especially that the day after Crown Jewel is where the rosters, the draft kicks in. What that means is obvious and simple. We're going to have matches on Crown Jewel between 2 wrestlers who are not going to be on the same brand anymore. I don't know what happens with Seth Rollins, for example. But if Seth Rollins ends up staying on SmackDown, he could still have a match with Edge at Crown Jewel. That's the reason why they said the draft does not go into effect until the day after Crown Jewel. So you can have somebody from Raw taking on somebody from SmackDown, even though they're on the same roster right now. You could end up having, you know, pretty much any combination you want. You can have some of this kick in early. But so since it's the only pay-per-view in October, expect some huge matches. When I see people out there, oh, why are they doing bet? Just think of the stupidity in this. We're getting Becky versus Sasha versus Bianca in Saudi Arabia. And I saw people writing one of 2 things other than praise. They were writing, why are they wasting this in Saudi Arabia? Well, maybe because it's history, and maybe because this is a big deal for the women. And when the women were crying, I mean, it should be, that's like what I said a couple of weeks ago. Dad, I want to go to Raw. They're going to have the Bloodline versus the New Day. Dad, please, I want to go. Well, son, they should have waited till Survivor Series to have this match. We're not going. We have to make a statement that they're just hot-shotting matches because of AEW's momentum. No, son, we cannot. But, Dad, no, it should have been. What kind of stupidity is that? We're getting the 3-way match because the day after the draft kicks in and those 3 cannot have a match against each other anymore. Period. Not hard. So Crown Jewel is going to be stacked. The difference, and I really believe this, I'm not just saying this, the difference between Crown Jewel this year compared to years past is, with the exception of Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley, which Mission I talked about it a month ago. That's happening. With the exception of that, they're not lobbying for Shawn Michaels to wrestle. They're not lobbying. I mean, Triple H obviously isn't going to wrestle because of health issues, even if he wanted to. They're not lobbying for a lot of legends of yesteryear like they have done before. What WWE is doing this year is, instead of saying, I give you legend, I give you legend, I give you legend, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, give me Hall of Famer, give me Hall of... No, WWE is saying the finals, King of the Ring, Queen's Crown, blah, 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 blah. 3-way for the Women's Championship. Bobby Lashley versus... You got my attention. That's what we're getting. Yes. I've been saying it for 6 weeks. Goldberg is going to wrestle Bobby Lashley at Crown Jewel. The only thing we got to worry about is Gage going to be there? Will Gage be there? Will Gage give his receipt to Bobby Lashley or MVP? We'll go. Oh boy. A lot of people, I don't know. You think Goldberg's going to go out on top on Bobby Lashley? Oh, I hope not. Seriously, I'm a big Goldberg fan, and yes, we could joke about him. And trust me, I'm not going to be enjoying this 25-year-old gum when it comes time. But I do not want to see him beating Bobby Lashley. I mean, if Gage has to show up there and Gage has to slap Lashley in the face or something, oh, please, God, please, in a perfect world, I support WWE, but please do not let me see Gage give a spear to anybody or put anybody in a hurt lock. No, 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 no. Yeah, Gage is going to hit the jackhammer. Wouldn't you want to see that? I think that's why MVP got the arthroscopic surgery as early as he did. So this is where I think he is good just in time for Crown Jewel, just in time for that payday. And why wouldn't you want that payday? I know, the end thing is the blood money and this and that. The blood money that the investors seem to think is a good idea. I know, sounds terrible. So, with that said, that's pretty much what went down yesterday between SmackDown, the draft, what we have next week. They have not announced the participants in the King of the Ring tournament yet or the Queen's Crown, but the tournaments start next Friday, qualifying matches, and it continues on the following Raw. Now, if you pay attention to those dates, it gives 2 weeks pretty much. What I expect to happen, especially since WWE has only had 3 to 4 matches on SmackDown, you'll probably have 2 of those 4 matches be King of the Ring or 1 King of the Ring, 1 Queen's Crown. Hell, you might have every match on SmackDown involve those tournaments. I kid you not. That could very well happen because, look, the amount of money, I mean, I'm not going to start throwing out numbers here. I don't have the specific numbers in front of me. But when you realize how much Saudi Arabia pays WWE for this one event, and then you realize a TV deal for AEW, and you realize the amount of money AEW makes in a year off the TV deal is comparable of what WWE gets for one freaking event. If I could compare it in a really, really dumb way, that is like if somebody right now threw a $1,000 super chat up there and said, hey, DT, and just bark like a dog for the rest of the show. And, I would just sit here and, bark like a dog. I seriously, for a $500 super chat, I'll lift up my leg. I'll pee all over the place. I'll do what dogs do. I'll scratch my nuts. I'm not that desperate for cash, but it would be welcome. By the way, the Nitro Cologne has arrived. I don't have it in this room. Guy came through, man. He gave me like 10 WCW Nitro samples, 10 samples of the Nitro Cologne, sealed, never opened. So next week, I will open the Nitro Cologne and I will try it out live on the show. I will give you my honest thoughts of what it smells like. It can't be bad. Cologne, I don't think goes bad, but we'll give away a few as well. So some of you out there, and if you win the Nitro Cologne, you have to, like, if you go to a coffee shop or you go out somewhere, go to a wrestling event. It's better than smelling like sweaty balls at AEW. You know, you got to film yourself taking and just putting a couple of dabs on. But I appreciate that, James. I know you would. I know a lot of people would, send, I appreciate it. Believe me, and I'm not just saying this, you'd be surprised, even when a bunch of you send like $1, $2, or even if you become it all adds up and it helps because, like I said, all these giveaways and the expense, the website, the bandwidth, everything that I do, it's mine. If not enough money comes in, whether it's Patreon or other stuff, I got to charge the rest, And look, those were the days 4 years ago when there was only 5 wrestling Patreon pages, and we were one of them. Now there's like 500 or even 1,000 Patreon pages. So, it's not what it used to be. But you know what? I still love doing this for all of you out there. So, maybe that revenue and that setup is different, but not my love of doing this and hanging out with all of you. So it's all good. Now, we do not know Impact's rating yet, but I truly think it goes down this week. And again, if it does go down, this will be the first 7-day span in a very, very, very long time where every show's rating went down. Last week, SmackDown went down 5%. Rampage went down, just a small percentage, but it still did go down. Raw went down almost 5%. NXT went down 12%. Dynamite went down 9.5%. And we're just waiting on Impact Wrestling, what their decline is going to look like. Now, Wednesday, chat room. I'm very curious to see your picks for this. Definitely type yours. Wednesday, AEW, and we'll take calls. If you want to call in and talk about the draft, I'll open the phone lines, and hopefully I don't have any issues with the program. Like I said, I should have tested it a few times beforehand, but I'm not going to lie, I wasn't thinking about it until literally 10 minutes before showtime. But before I open the phone lines, Wednesday they're doing a casino ladder match. Winner receives a world title match. Again, this is AEW every week trying to keep the fans happy by giving them a big match, big stipulation. I don't know how long-term that's going to be able to be kept, but for us wrestling fans right now, enjoy it, because I am. There is a Joker involved in here. No, it's not going to be Sting. Joker Sting. We're going to have Pac versus Andrade versus Jon Moxley versus Lance Archer versus Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy. Oh, my God. People were angry yesterday. They announced Matt Hardy in this match, and people like, where's Bryan Danielson? It's CM Punk. Give me a young buck. One. I'll take Nakazawa. Why Matt Hardy? People are getting too spoiled. So now here's my question to all of you out there. Who do you think the Joker will be? Because I have one person in mind, and I will say this. Hangman Page would be a great choice because he could win it, and he gets the title shot, and that negates the storyline before. Remember, he lost that match. He can't get a title shot against Kenny Omega. So this is AEW's way of getting around that. So I kind of like Hangman Page. Philip Maffey thinks the draft so far seems okay, but he's not too impressed. Do I think Bray Wyatt may go to AEW or return to WWE? And he shouts out everybody who is tuning in right now. Much love, Philip. I will answer both of your questions in 1 minute. I like the Bray Wyatt part especially. So, chat room, who do you think is going to be the Joker? All right. Bash 8 says Hangman. Left Twix. Cassidy is already in it. Kevin Milwaukee thinks Hangman. John Hinosa. Did I say that right, Hinosa? I think I did. Matt Cardona. I like that choice. Not bad. I want to see if anybody picks my choice. Sam goes with Buddy Murphy. I like that choice as well. I didn't even think of Buddy Murphy. That's a great choice. King of Hueco thinks Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt. We'll call him Bray. We don't have to be like these people out there suddenly like, hi, Wyndham. How was your day, Wyndham? Oh, fuck out of here. Gordon Post. I love that idea, Gordon. Gordon Post says it could be Bryan Danielson, which forces Kenny Nobles to face him because right now Kenny Nobles says no rematch. I like that. I like that. The problem is Bryan Danielson is he wrestling? No, he's not even in a match. I like that. I like that. Chris L says Yoshihiro Tajiri. Yeah, maybe if this was 2011. Kareem Cody Rhodes. Not bad. Devin, I thought Leo Rush originally also. I thought Leo Rush, especially after what happened last time, obviously it didn't work out the way it did. Bash thinks Paul White. Nobody's coming up with my pick yet. And my pick is, people get like, but I thought of a little outside the box. I even thought Eddie Kingston. But Eddie Kingston is not in this. Let's see. A lot more Bryan Danielsons. Psycho. It's not going to be Brian Cage because they just had Brian Cage send a message to Ricky Starks. David R. Malachi Black. Malachi cut a promo on Cody yesterday, so something tells me they're keeping him in a different direction. Twix goes with Hobbs. That's not a bad one. Chris L. Tessa. That's creative. David, I look. Deli Man, I would love it, man. I would love if the AEW Dark. I would love to, but it's not happening. It's not happening. Not even in the managers. But so people always say that to me all the time, and I don't bring it up much because I think sometimes people say to just rub it in. Like I want DT to say no, it's not going to happen, just because I know it just feels like a knife in its heart. All right, you want me to give you mine? Smurfy says Chris Hero. I like that too. Devin M. Miro is a great choice. I tell you, let's give AEW a little credit here. The number of choices that you all gave right now shows you how diverse that roster is. That you could come up with that many people. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You know who my pick would be? More of a sentimental pick than anything else. Nobody has said it. Homicide. I would like to see Homicide in one match, put him in a ladder match, let him go at it with Lance Archer and Moxley and a few others. I have nothing against Orange Cassidy, but I don't like Orange Cassidy. I dislike Orange Cassidy more in this match than Matt Hardy. You look at that match, I just feel like Orange Cassidy has no business being in there, to be honest with you. So, we can't do you pick it right, Sam, because everybody already started picking names, and we'll do something next week with a. By the way, I'm going to bring back the Mind teasers next week. I had so many emails after Thursday show, like, what happened to the Mind teasers? I'm like, I completely forgot. You remember? You're in your house, and the lights go out, the power goes out, the Don Tony show disconnects from your computer. You have no power in your house, and you have a candle, an oil lamp, and I don't know, whatever else. And you got only one match. No, you have a candle or an oil lamp. You only have one match. What do you like first? And everybody's like, oh, I'd like the candle. No, I'd like the lamp. I could walk around. I could say, we're here. No. You like the match first. That's what the stupid brain teasers are. Sam, what prize did you get? Because Pro Wrestling Tees is like a month behind with everybody's stuff. Pro Wrestling Tees, I emailed them Thursday. I felt bad. I emailed them. I'm like, I gave away prizes, and it makes me look bad. And then, I got this automated email like, we are a month backed up. Well, stop making tribute shirts for everybody. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but, it seems like when it comes to like, an elite shirt or something like that, a Dark Side of the Ring shirt, everybody gets it 4 days later. When it comes to people paying top dollar, top dollar for something, we're a month behind. Anyway, Sam, I'll check the Twitter again. So you want to take some calls? Hopefully this works. We're at an hour and 20 minutes right now. So I definitely want to keep it under 2 hours today. Like to keep it like an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 40 minutes. Because look, in 48 hours, we will be right back here. We will have the draft completed. Hopefully the supplemental will come in while we're live so we can immediately react to this stuff. But, the speculation of who's going to get drafted in 48 hours is going to mean nothing. But, and if this does not work, my apologies in advance. And if it does not work, I promise you by Monday, if I have to scout a net tomorrow and get other programs installed, I will. So if you want to call in and talk draft, 833-366-8686 or 225-366-8669. If you have a favorite from this draft so far, like who's your favorite pick, that switched the brand, who do you absolutely hate? How do you feel about T-Bar and Mace splitting, the New Day? I think the New Day thing is ridiculous. I think it's so ridiculous, especially if they move those Street Profits over to Raw. Because then it feels like, oh my God, here we go again. What are you going to do? They might put the Viking Raiders on SmackDown. We talked about that last week. The Viking Raiders, there is nothing going on with them. And you have all these big guys going to Raw. Who is Top Dollar going to go up against? What was he going to do? Squash Drew Gulak week after week after week? I don't see this connecting, and I see it going in a voicemail. So, shit, that sucks. And I really don't want to start rebooting phones and everything. Well, you know what? I'll reboot the phone. While I'm rebooting the phone, I'll answer questions in the chat instead. How's this? Hold on. I'm going to turn this phone off. How do you turn this off? You hold the, okay. See, sliding, power off. Hold on. When the Apple comes back on. By the way, I want to thank everybody for hanging out tonight. I appreciate you taking a little time out. Yes, we're not doing much on a Saturday night, but I'm actually going out tonight at 10 o'clock. Nothing special. Nothing special. I got, see, it's loading. I don't want anybody to think I'm lying. It's just, it's loading. So anyway, yeah, New Day getting split. Chris thinks it's stupid. It is stupid. Because look, of course, we don't like when WWE is lazy. But you see it remember a month ago? Do you remember a month ago when all the websites said that WWE was going to give us fresh matches and they were going to stay away from giving us the same shit over and over again? And that lasted literally a half a show. And we don't want to keep seeing the same shit all over again. But you mean to tell me that we would have a problem if, like, we had the Hurt Business going at it with the New Day a little bit? I mean, even if Bobby Lashley gets drafted to SmackDown, you still got 2 weeks left. You mean to tell me people would really complain about a 6-man tag rematch? Instead of the Bloodline versus the New Day, you have the Hurt Business versus the New Day. Remember my tease last week? Remember the Hurt Business reunited? Is it going to last only 1 week? Monday, you may see part of the Hurt Business move to SmackDown and the other part removed to Raw. When I said that last Monday, people were like, oh, DT, you're just being dramatic here. No, it could very well happen. Look, now you can't get the New Day versus the Hurt Business. All right. Just so you can see, I'm putting in my password. I don't want anybody to think I'm lying. All right. So now we're going to load. Let's see what happens. I'm locked and I'm loaded. Oh, look at this. It works now. Hey, you're on. Who's this? I thought it worked. Oh, here it goes. Hey, you're on. Who's this? Hold on. Something's not working. What did I do? Hold on. I did something wrong here. I know Liz is trying to call in. I'm not like stalking you. Your name popped up on the thing. So, all right, let's try this again. Hang on a second. There we go. All right. I think it's working now. I think we're good. Good evening. You're on. Who's this?
Hey.
All right.
Okay, it's working now.
Yep. Good. When in doubt, you just reboot the phone. Yeah. I wasn't kidding, man. I think because, so many people lie, and I get it. I understand. I mean, not everybody wants to do certain things. So you make little excuses here and there, but I wasn't kidding. Thursday, I was so embarrassed. Because I know the haters out there, like, nobody's calling into your show. You're acting like it's not. No, it really wasn't working. So somebody told me, reboot the phone. I rebooted it. Now it works. So what's your thoughts on the draft so far?
I had a feeling that New Day was going to be sent back to SmackDown. I had a feeling that Ray and Dominik were going to go to Raw.
Yeah.
I didn't enter the contest, but I wish I had, because I just kept having a feeling they were going to split up New Day and Big E again, and Ray and Dominik were going to be sent to Raw. And I was surprised they split up Mace and T-Bar, because they were actually starting to do good.
Yeah, they just had that segment on Raw where they were just out of control and beating everybody up.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, a little new attitude, why not? And they're split now.
Yeah, some of them, like with Shayna, they're finally turning her loose, putting her as the biatch that she was supposed to have been in NXT, just whipping everybody and everything. But like you said about with Hit Row, they just started that feud and everything. So now, they got to rush it in 3 weeks to wrap it up?
That's what it feels like.
And I could have sworn that I saw an ad for a rubber match with Edge and Seth at Crown Jewel. So I was seeing things.
It could have very well. I mean, they have announced like some things in some areas. I mean, I think more in Saudi Arabia than anything else. They have some promotional posters, and you have some names shown on the posters. So it would not surprise me. It really would not surprise me. I don't think Edge is one where he is totally against performing in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I think it's got to happen. I mean, especially, look, you don't have Seth Rollins show up at his house on SmackDown for it to lead to nothing else. It's leading to something else.
That reminded me of the whole thing with Samoa Joe and AJ Styles.
Yeah. It did.
That's what I'm like. I'm seeing deja vu.
Yeah.
But now, if they don't take Mansoor, they're going to go mad over there. They got to take
Mansoor
Mansoor.
would definitely be there. In fact, we don't know who the participants in the King of the Ring is, but we know the favoritism that happens with Mansoor over there. I mean, Mansoor has really earned his stripes now, but it could very well come down to Mansoor versus Nakamura.
Yeah, I could see that. And the thing is, some of the wrestlers, because of their religious background, they can't go.
Right.
Like Sami Zayn, and I'm assuming that most of them, Ali can't go.
Why wouldn't Ali go?
I think he's Muslim.
Oh, well, you know what? That's a good point. I didn't think of it like that. You would think that, it gets to a point where, it should not have to come down to that. But then again, with the controversy with Saudi Arabia and that Khashoggi, the person who was killed, I could understand people. And not only that, something that a lot of people don't bring up anymore, when they got delayed in Saudi Arabia, a lot of people still remember that. And, some people might actually say, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out because it is optional. but it's not optional. Like, like WWE will tell you, look, no one has to, you don't have to go. If you really don't feel like, if you're not, you don't have to go. But I know a lot of people that think deep down inside say, it's probably in my best interest that I go. So, we'll see. But I tell you the truth, in my opinion, I think within 3 weeks, we get Shayna Baszler either a women's champion or she wins this Queen's crown. I think she's got to have one or the other. She's on great momentum, and I'd like to see her either have one of those two at minimum.
Yeah, because when she first came up, everybody was expecting her to be how she was in NXT, where she was just whipping everybody. And then it's like some of these wrestlers, they can't make up their mind. What the hell are they going to do with them? They keep changing everything.
Yeah.
Well,
Vince McMahon had Shayna Baszler bite Becky Lynch's neck and draw blood like a vampire. When we first got her.
I know.
So
I knew that had to be him or Bruce Prichard. I was like, oh man, that'll be funny. Let's have her take a chunk out of Becky's neck and her blood everywhere. And it's like, my God, you're not 2-year-olds.
Yeah, she's not doing that in Saudi Arabia, but we'll see
that's
what
the
happens.
problem. A lot of well, a lot of that goofy stuff is something that will actually make Vince laugh. A lot of stuff is done because, they want to tickle his funny bone and everything.
Yeah.
But when they announced Charlotte for SmackDown, the first thing that come to mind is, oh, God, they're going to do a belt switch with Becky.
Yeah.
Just like they did with the tag teams.
What it seems like. I mean, look, everybody reporting today that Fox wanted Charlotte on that program. Yeah, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like, she is the top. I mean, a lot of people don't want to admit it, but she is the top female star in WWE. Becky Lynch, obviously she has the rights to be the man, and she is at the top of her game as well. But you know what? Sasha is also at the top of her game. Asuka always was, but Charlotte overall, she is an entertainment networks. I don't want to say a dream, but those TV networks love Charlotte, and she delivers in the ratings. People look at the quarter-hour ratings of AEW programming, but they should take note of the quarter hours of WWE, especially Charlotte. Charlotte is always near at the top with quarter-hour ratings.
Oh, yeah, she could be considered the marquee of female wrestlers right now.
Mm-hmm. If you could go toe-to-toe with Charlotte, that's it. Then you're at a different level. Yeah.
And that's like was watching, with the Daniel Bryanson going up against, what was it, Matt Jackson?
Yes.
There was that. He actually Matt had to do an actual wrestling match. They got a few little, jumps all that stuff in, but he was actually having to do a regular wrestling match, and Bryan Danielson really whipped him around there and was controlling the match and everything, and it's like
it told the story. It was great. I mean, it proves, doesn't prove it, but it shows AEW that you don't have to jump off the top of a cage. You don't have to do insane stuff that people cringe, concerned that Rey Fenix one day is going to break his neck. You can have more of a ground game, a little bit of aerial as well, but you could have it tell more of a story, and the fans are emotionally invested just as much. And, I'm glad that they let Bryan Danielson be the one to dictate where this was going to go. And I think that was the right way to do it yesterday. There was really no need for them to just have spot fest, which happens a lot, especially with Young Bucks matches.
I mean, because like you said, what they keep doing increasingly more riskier stuff. That's why Matt Hardy's wife was pissed about that dive off of that scissor lift, and he could have broken his neck. Because I watched the Dark Side of the Ring, and they showed Hayabusa doing a flip off of the top rope. He slipped and then came down on the top of his head and broke his neck, and he was paralyzed for a long time from the neck down. But he eventually did learn to walk, but then he collapsed and died. But Yeah. Oh my God! Watched that, and I think it was crazy.
Yeah.
The stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
And everything.
I remember it well. So I have fond memories of FMW. Crazy stuff, no question. But I have fond memories of FMW. You know, I listened to one of the producers talk to Jim Cornette about this episode, and the guy pretty much all but admitted that, you know, he wasn't going into it because it was the dark side of the ring. The producer was so fascinated with FMW that they were going to figure out a way to make it dark side of the ring. That's when they said, and as we delve deeper, and then the Yakuza, I said it for a couple of weeks. I said, they got to get into the Yakuza. Other than that, then it was more of a niche wrestling, because look, you see all that exploding stuff. Now these days, they do the light tubes. They do crazy stuff. They did light tubes 20 years ago also. I sat front row and center for some of that. But, FMW, it wasn't as much of a dark side as people think it was, but they had to in order to give them the excuse to actually air it. And from what people are telling me, they say it's their favorite episode that's ever been made. And that goes to show you that they don't have to go for the dark, smut, slanderish, horrible. Yeah. You can get into the controversial side of it. Maybe darker side of the ring would have been better. But, I'm going to check it out. I'll probably check it out tomorrow.
The headset boo on there and talking about, his uncle, which was the original Sheik, that they did a match where they set the ropes on fire. Yeah. And they never got burned to death. He said that the top of the mat and the ring was melting onto their flesh. Yeah. Mick Foley talked about he saw a female wrestler just before he went on to do his headline match take a fireball and watched her costume melt into her skin and heard her backstage. He said with this god-awful scream, he said. Yeah. And he said he had to put it out of his mind and go out and do his headline match. Yeah. And they showed Terry Funk, Onita, exploding death match there with the exploding ring and everything, which was what Moxley and Omega was trying to recreate. Yep. Where Omega turned tail and run out of the ring, and Kingston come in and covered Moxley. Well, that's at the end. It was Onita, because Terry Funk was his mentor. He came to Texas, and Terry Funk took him under his wing. Because he said, I spoke English like I spoke, he spoke Japanese. He said, we didn't understand each other, but we managed to communicate. And Onita loved Terry Funk.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't realize Terry Funk hadn't got out of the ring. Yeah. And the alarm went off, woo, woo, woo. And that's why he jumped back in and covered Terry Funk. Yeah. Because he couldn't wake him up. He was out, and they were showing him. He was slapping him, shaking him, and everything. And then he's like, well, F this, and he just threw himself over him. Then all the explosions went off and everything. And, they showed how stuff should have been. And, they were showing that, like they said, that barbed wire and everything in it. And I've seen some stuff, on other wrestling programs, like with Mick Foley and all that, and it's like, good Lord. How many guys survived? And they showed Sabu with all these deep scars and everything in that. And you could tell Terry Funk, but they said he's in constant pain. You could just tell by the way he was sitting there and just how he looked. But he was coherent and everything in that and talked crystal clear and everything. But you could just tell by how he looked and how he sat there just I don't know, like an aura, but you could just tell that man was like in searing constant pain, even when he was doing that when they were talking to him and everything. But he said he loves Onita, and they asked him, well, you got a message? He gave a double flip finger. I blessed up like me. He said, what do you? He said, I don't mean anything. He said, I love the man. Yeah. And you can see how much he's aged and everything, and how all that hardcore stuff is really took a toll on him.
Yeah. Terry Funk's my favorite wrestler of all time. I've met him many times. I've showed all of you some of the letters. I didn't even put it away yet. Just to show you. I've been lazy, but I mean, no one has ever seen this. This is like a hand-drawn picture. This is not a photocopy. This is a hand-drawn. If you look at the ink, this is marker. That's magic marker. This is a letter when I got engaged. This is a letter he wrote me 22 years ago. I met him countless times, and I brought this up. The last time that I really got to spend any time with him, it was around, I would say about maybe 7-8 years ago, and there was a wrestling convention, and I picked up Daphne from the airport, and we were running late, and we went right to Long Island for this convention, and Terry Funk actually had a table right next to hers. So, I walked up to the table and, he remembered my name, because Low Life Louie wrestled him in Connecticut, and we drove to Connecticut, Louie and I, and Louie's, if anybody ever talks to Louie and you see his front tooth knocked out, he refuses to get it fixed because Terry Funk is the one that knocked his tooth out. So every time you look at Louie and he's missing a tooth, Terry Funk did that.
That's like a badge of honor.
Yeah, but when I saw him, and he's, oh, Anthony, how you doing? And when I went to shake his hand, like, his knuckles were the size of some people's big toes. He's got so much bad arthritis. When I heard him say about 6 months ago, please don't send me things to autograph, I can't. I could only imagine the pain that this man is going through just in his fingers, let alone his whole body for doing FMW stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got, it's like an osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
That's what my late grandmother and my mother had, and my grandmother's fingers done that too. She had, the knuckles and everything were all swollen, and her fingers were all bent out of shape and that. And she lost cartilage in her knees and that, and unfortunately now that's what I've got now is osteoarthritis. So that's what I'm dealing with, and I see what my grandmother and my mother went through, and I'm like, God dang, I'm 58, and I was like, I've got about 30 more years to go, because I'm assuming I'll live to be 80 or more. Yeah. But it's like, I don't want to be crippled up like that.
Yeah.
And so I can understand what he's going through.
Yeah. I feel so bad for him, but I saw some little clips online, and I'm glad that he's as coherent as he was, because so many people were saying that this guy's got dementia now, and that's it, And look, I don't know how much time Terry still has on this earth, but we don't know about any of us, but he's been my favorite since the middle 80s, and he'll always be my favorite. But I'm going to check out the FMW episode probably tomorrow.
Yeah, it's something else. It's a real eye opener.
Yeah.
With it and that. I mean, you get to see what they put themselves through.
Yeah, sure.
And they showed the clip when he was like 22. And how he just jumped off the edge of the mat onto the floor and busted his knee, and the kneecap and that it came through the skin. They even showed, you could see some of where they showed it, where some of the bone was sticking out. Yep. And that's what limited him with his wrestling from then on.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's just freak stuff that happens and everything.
Yeah.
And show guys, all tangled up in the barbed wire and that, and it's like,
crazy.
I understand you love the thing, but I just can't see putting yourself through that pain and tearing yourself apart and everything.
It's like, money, and it's an adrenaline rush. It's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
When you are in front of 50,000 people and they're watching you do that, it takes it's something totally different. I mean, I can't compare myself to them, but even when I did my lousy stuff, you're around 1,000, 1,500 people, and you even hear somewhat of a reaction, and then, people are popping when, you get a bottle broken over your head. It still hurts, but you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, everybody seems to like it. And, it's an adrenaline rush that you can't explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. But once that adrenaline wears off, and it's like, holy shit, what did I just do to myself?
Yeah. So, well.
Okay, well, I'm not gabbing on here long. Everybody else is probably screaming bloody
No,
murder.
it'd be
Get
cool.
out there,
Well,
woman.
it was nice talking to you. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
You too.
Be well.
Yeah,
Great
good
talking
night.
to you.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Now, I know some people were trying to call in, but everybody loves, the conversation and loves Liz as well. Hey, you're on. Who's this?
Hey, it's the Midwest Matarat, Kevin Milwaukee.
What's up, Kevin?
How's it going, DT?
All right. Not bad. Not bad. What's on your mind?
They've never explained the connection between Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. All of a sudden, one show, Rick Boogs is out there playing the guitar, and it just never stopped. He's a good luck charm. And Pat McAfee's reaction to the live playing of his theme song has single-handedly pushed Nakamura to the Intercontinental Championship weeks back. It's no wonder Elias is 6 feet under.
That's why if I was WWE, you do not take Nakamura off of SmackDown. You do not take Rick Boogs off of SmackDown. Pat McAfee's energy alone just makes it more fun. And I like, even if Rick Boogs came out on Raw and did what he did, it's like, I just can't, like Jimmy Smith, like, what's he going to do? He's just going to be like, and we'll go to commercial break and it won't feel the same. So if I was WWE, I would leave Nakamura and Rick Boogs on SmackDown.
Yeah. Wisconsin loves you, DT. You got fans all over.
I appreciate
you always
it.
tell the truth and expose the lies.
You
got the longevity, plain and simple. You're the premier professional wrestling podcaster in the biz. You don't need superstar guests for ratings, like you said.
Look, I mean, I get people all the time that throw in my face. And I could put proof up until tomorrow that I think it's like 80. The last time I checked, I think it was 84% of everybody who tunes in access the audio only. Because honestly, they want to sit back, relax, and just listen. I mean, unless I'm doing something visual, there's no reason for them to just sit there and watch me on a thing, especially if they got a phone. There's a lot less data when you just listen to audio rather than clicking on a video. But, I see. And I do watch other people's shows here and there, and I just say to myself, how does this attract 10,000 people? And, I give the people that do these shows credit. I don't want to single anybody out, but I do give them credit because, no question, they all work hard. But it's a little bit sad that just ripping everything to pieces, everything sucks, or everything is unbelievable epic. I could die tomorrow and, I'm a happy person because I'm watching AEW or whatever else. It's just like, to me, it's a little too extreme. I just try to keep it more of a balance. And unfortunately, it's not the most popular formula, but it's my honest formula. So I'd rather just be honest than to go over the top. Like, I saw so many people just like really passionate about Hit Row yesterday. And I'm like, I just can't get that passionate and angry about 4 people who are in NXT drawing 600,000 viewers that almost everybody out there was ignoring in the first place. And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to care to the point that I want to like strangle Vince McMahon over it. I can't, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And, I'd rather just be me, and whoever wants to check it out, fine. Whoever doesn't, it's all good. Doesn't bother me. But they're missing out on good convo, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Crusher Fest is back for another festival here next weekend,
Really?
October 9th and 10th, here locally in the south side of Milwaukee.
Very
Cold
cool.
beer, a wrestling show of some sort, and of course some polka music.
Good. Have a great time. Are you going to go?
I might. I have to work, but I might.
Yeah, if you can. I mean,
And,
it only comes around like once a year, right?
They were just going to do it once, and it got such a good reception. They decided to do it again.
Yeah.
It might be an annual thing.
Yeah. So, you who knows, you may not, because remember, even if it's popular, if the people backing it don't have the funds or the that nest egg that they get, because it's not easy. I mean, even doing shows, you might have a great, turnout, but if you don't have that nest egg to prepare for the next show, or just it's getting harder and harder. A lot of people don't look at this side of it, but here in New York, inspections, insurance, permits, licensing, a lot of safety precautions. There's so many aspects now with running a wrestling show that is different than what it was 20 years ago. And it's a lot more expensive too. It wasn't just, in the past, you'd hire somebody from the State Athletic Commission that would sit. You would have to have an ambulance in the back or a doctor on the premises and an ambulance on standby. And you get your license and you get, insurance and a $10,000 surety bond. And that's the end of it. Because I used to do it for Frank Goodman. Nowadays, not only is it probably about 5 times as expensive, but there's other little nuances you have to do too. You have to do this. You have to take this safety. Now with COVID also, it's not easy to even run one show anymore. So, that's why I tell everyone, if you have the opportunity to go to a local event and it seems like it's halfway decent, if you can, go have a great time, because it may not come around again.
Yeah, and I don't know how you good folks in New York even do it with the standard of living and how the cost of everything is so high.
Yeah. I mean, let me just say one thing before I let you go. I have a friend of mine right now who needs to get an apartment, and he wants to stay in my neck of the woods, my neighborhood. And the cheapest apartment I could find for him right now, 1-bedroom apartment, is $1,600 for 1-bedroom apartment. Yep. And if anybody thinks I'm lying, you go on apartments.com, type in, 11414, which is the zip code over here, and just type in nearest apartments or apartments for rent. And the cheapest one you'll find is $1,600.
New York is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. But, all the best, my friends out there in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. And, I appreciate your support. Thank you.
We love you, DT. And a shout out to all the normal people in the YouTube chat room who respect me and have a good sense of humor.
Yes.
The Motley crew in there.
Absolutely,
and
man.
You're listening, you're better than Chicago. Trojan too. Move to Milwaukee.
Much love, Kevin. Have a good night.
You're the best, DT.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Shout out to Mish. Mish is hanging out a little bit. Mish, I saw this morning that freaking link you sent me that we have local medical facilities in New York to replace the doctors with soldiers. It's so messed up over here. You have no idea, man. It's just, that's why, seriously, for each and every one of you out there, wrestling is my escape. Hanging out with all of you is my escape. Spending time with my fiance is my escape. Spending time with my parents is my escape. My life is kind of boring right now, but for me, that is my escape, because it's not fun. I brought it up the other day. I walked into a diner, and because someone forgot their vaccination card, they got into a shouting match with the owner, accusing him of communism and all this stuff. It's like, you can't even just go out without somebody, there was a little friction. JL, he is the guy that sent me the photo of the Undertaker memorabilia. What do I think? I have Undertaker memorabilia. Oh, wait, whoa. Undertaker memorabilia. I'm trying to remember which one you're talking about. Don't super chat this. Please don't. In the chat room, just write which one. Because I had a few people send me a couple of different Undertaker things. Somebody sent me something from 1991. The Taker gum? No, it wasn't the Taker gum. I know what he's talking about. He sent me some with Undertaker that I wanted to know about. It wasn't the sign too, the 3D sign. Oh man, what was it? I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm drawing a freaking blank. By the way, about the Undertaker gum. Oh. This was claimed for. Oh, okay. Yes. The Undertaker figures. Yes. Okay. Because, I have a few people sending me different Undertaker ideas, and That's how I ended up with this the other day and others. The Undertaker inflatable is from 1991 and 1992. Someone sent me a picture of it and has it sealed in the bag. The problem is you could probably get a couple $100 for it on eBay. And if I were to take it or trade for it, I want to open it up and inflate it. But the minute you open that bag up, it loses a shitload of its value. But yeah, the Undertaker figures, he showed me the ones with the card. If anybody was on my Patreon, if you remember, I was giving away the old. Think about this. I don't have pictures here, everybody. I still have them in my office. Just think about this. He's talking about Undertaker figures. I want to let you all know something about collectibles. For a long time on Patreon, I had a prize wall. It had like 20 different prizes on it. And if you won with a pay-per-view contest, you pick a prize. Now, you know, to be honest, the number of people that were on our Patreon page at that time was 3 times as many. So, you know, I was able to afford to, you know, eat up the expense of giving away, you know, something that big. When you only have this many people now, I mean, obviously you can't do that. So check this out. I had on my prize wall, and later this week I'll show you a picture of it. I had a WWF wrestling figure of the Ultimate Warrior and a WWF wrestling figure of Hulk Hogan. It is the one, I don't remember the name of the company, the brand, but it's the one where it has like a card inside, and it's from 1990, I think, or 89 or something like that. It's not LJN. I can't remember the other company. Somebody throws it in the chat room, I'll know immediately. But do you know, I had those 2 figures in plastic cases, sealed perfectly, mint condition. I had it on that prize wall for 2.5 years. And not one person who won every month on a pay-per-view, no one ever chose those 2 figures. It's not Jack's, Hasbro. Thank you, Chris. I'm pretty sure it's Hasbro. Do you know, I went on eBay about 2 weeks ago. I was checking out like some prices, like Undertaker stuff, Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, some people, because like I said, when people are sending me stuff like this, or I don't know if you saw this the other day. Look, Vanilla Ice gum. It's supposed to be like a cassette. It's Vanilla Ice gum. It's sealed in a pack. Somebody sent me this. It's on eBay right now for $100. So, you know, I go on eBay to check the prices. And I said, you know, let me check the Ultimate Warrior and the Hulk Hogan figure. I'm curious to see how much they're selling for right now. $399 each. For 2.5 years. Mike in Brooklyn, how come Isaiah Swerve Scott never defended the North American title? Now what happens when he's on SmackDown? Well, I think he, like I said earlier, he's going to defend it and lose it within the next 3 weeks, or he'll be stripped. You know, see, that's the thing. When people get so upset about the North American Championship, now he's drafted to SmackDown. He wasn't doing anything with that title. The title will be in NXT, everyone. They're not going to put the NXT North American Championship and leave it on SmackDown. It makes no sense whatsoever. Swerve will drop the title, or he'll be stripped of the title by Regal, and they'll do a tournament. They got to do one or the other. Now, I just realized something. I forgot to answer somebody's super chat earlier that I really wanted to answer too, and I will do that right now. But just to finish what I was saying about the Ultimate Warrior and Hogan, if someone would have won those figures and said, hey, I want that from the prize wall, they could put it on eBay right now and get $600 to $700 for them. It blows my mind how much these figures have gone up in price in about 2 or 3 years. Because when I was putting together the prize wall 4 years ago, some of the stuff I already had, but I was looking for some really cool stuff online that, you know, was not easy to get. That's why I always have some rare things. I gave away a pair of Rey Mysterio trunks. I gave away an Eddie Guerrero. What was the autograph? It might have been a wrestling figure or something that he autographed. Someone asked me the other day about the Benoit photo. I still have the Benoit photo, and I went on eBay. I had two. One of them sold for $700. So it's crazy how some things have gone up. Oh, the Bischoff panties. I don't know what that person ever did with those Bischoff panties. That was pretty wild. But I sincerely apologize to Philip Maffey. He's been sitting patiently waiting for me to answer this. Do I think Bray Wyatt might go to AEW or return to WWE? I brought this up on Wednesday. Oh, you know what? That's better. That looks better. I brought it up on Wednesday. I can't picture if Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, wanted to go and pay tribute to his friend, Brody Lee, even if he showed up after the cameras went off the air. I can't picture WWE telling him, no, you're not allowed. Even if his no compete is not up yet. I just can't picture that. You know, I can understand last year, it's different, but putting that aside, what upset me the most about this week with Bray Wyatt towards AEW is this. For the last 2 weeks, I watched all these shows talk about Bray Wyatt and AEW, and they said, Bray Wyatt is not going to AEW. Bray Wyatt most likely will sign with Impact Wrestling. You will not see Bray Wyatt appear in AEW because he's going to sign with Impact. And my answer to that was, suddenly the forbidden door is closed. And the point is, when people look back on this, I take credit sometimes for things. Many, many years ago, I said Roman Reigns is going to get the John Cena push before anybody ever knew who Roman Reigns was. I said AEW will be the first millennial promotion. I said that about 3 years ago. And I'm saying this again now. We will look back on it. We will say that Tony Khan was not responsible for the forbidden door. You do not thank Tony Khan for that. You thank Tony Khan for allowing some talent exchange, but the forbidden door was kicked open by COVID. All these promotions out there do not want, and some cannot afford to pay the contracts they would normally pay if we did not have COVID. So when you hear about forbidden doors being kicked down and this and that, oh my God, it's Darius Martin. Did forbidden doors kick down? No, it's not. Darius Martin is making money from other places because AEW is not paying him as much if we weren't in COVID. So when you see all these wrestlers, forbidden door, no, it's all these promotions realized we can't afford talent like we used to because COVID fucked us for 1.5 years. So guess what? How does about we do this? You know, we'll exchange talent. We'll let talent work other shows and this and that. And this way they can make up for the money that we can't afford to pay them right now. Take it or leave it. That's why if you notice some people, and I'm sorry for mentioning his name the other day, look at Eric Redbeard. Eric Rowan showed up that one time with Brody with the big sad look on his face, and we all cried with him. He never brought him back in. And you look at some other people that, you know, aren't appearing anywhere. You look at others. Forbidden door. You know what the forbidden door is? And I know I've said this before. You know what the forbidden door is? Oh my God, it's Kenta. The forbidden door. He had one match after that. But he appeared here. He appeared here. He appeared here. But, the forbidden door. Minoru Suzuki. The forbidden door. And I'm a fucking Minoru Suzuki fan, as you could see. The forbidden door. No, it wasn't. He happened to be in the United. Oh, I'm going to GCW. I'm going wrestling here, and I'm wrestling in Jersey, in California, in Philly, and here. Forbidden door. It's called Wrestler Come to United States. Wrestler work. Many promotion. Wrestler will work AEW. Tony Khan, big promoter. Tony Khan get credit for kicking Forbidden Door down. But if Tony Khan say, no, I still work many promotion and make lot of money. Forbidden Door was kicked down by COVID, not Tony Khan. Because once COVID is out of here, and remember I said this, once COVID is out of here and these promotions start being able to recoup most of the money they lost, and they start getting big crowds again, and they start being able to afford their own stuff, you watch how quick that fucking forbidden door is closed. And then you'll realize Forbidden Door was kicked down because of COVID. That's it. That's it. Period. Give Tony Khan credit for going along with it. Because Tony Khan could have said, we don't need GCW. We don't need NWA. We don't need MLW. Impact Wrestling. We don't need them. We don't need any of you. We're fine on our own. Tony Khan could have done that. Tony Khan did not. Tony Khan deserves all of that credit. No question. But I'm the one that kicked the Forbidden Door down. No, COVID's the one that did that. So, bottom line, Bray Wyatt, I think ultimately he goes back to WWE. He could go to Impact Wrestling for a little while. I personally think he would be great in NWA. I think he would be great in NWA for a little while. I don't expect his contract to be all that long. I'd be shocked to shit if we hear Wyndham Rotunda signed a 3-year deal with Impact Wrestling. He probably would be able to work so many different places. It's not even funny, but you got to also remember this. You need to remember this. And this is the thing about Adam Cole and everybody else. I know not all of you tune in on Wednesdays, but something that I brought up before, if you pay close attention to the wrestlers that AEW brings in, especially on the male side, they all seem to fit a similar category. They all seem to like the Twitch, like the game, like to stream on YouTube, like to do outside activities, that do not want to work full-time 300 days out of the year for WWE. That their sanity, their happiness, their venting is to mingle with fans. Like Adam Cole loves to game and loves to talk to fans. He loves it, but he also gets an income from it. This is the new, I don't want to say the new norm, but this is what's new compared to 5 years ago. Don't you notice how everybody wants to do a podcast now? They suddenly love podcasts? No, because they all see that they can make money off of it. Twitch, super chats, this, and that. It's all a new revenue stream. Who would not want to sit at home in their PJs or even naked from the bottom down with just a t-shirt because you can't see below the belt? Just hanging out, playing video games. And oh my God, I made $1,000. Look at Paige. God bless her. She sits and she games on Twitch and she makes thousands and thousands and thousands. Who would, if I said to you, you could go on a plane, travel 1,500 miles, wrestle for 20 minutes. Then after the wrestling match is over, maybe you could get a bite to eat, but then you got to get on the next plane, 2 late stopovers, then you go back home, and that's how you tie up your next 2 days. Or instead, you could sit at home, put on some makeup, play video games, and you can make 3 times that much money. Bottom line is, Bray Wyatt, with his wife, well, with JoJo, with his family, with some relatives that are older, with still the scare of COVID, with, his happiness of utmost importance. Maybe Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt, does not want right now to wrestle a full-time schedule. His happiness might be to work a little part-time, hang out at home. This guy starts doing cameo videos. This guy will get $300 a pop. You don't think Bray Wyatt won't get $300 a pop on Cameo? Wrestlers used to have to travel crazy miles to get $200 or $1,000. So that's what you got to keep in mind when you think of Bray Wyatt and others. So, yeah, Mish, I agree with you, man. Cody has got to embrace the hate. Cody is so out of touch with that video. But that's TNT's fault also. By the way, did anybody notice this yesterday? I didn't see anybody write it. Did anybody notice this yesterday? Did anybody see that commercial for WWE? Did you notice a familiar voice narrating the WWE commercial yesterday during SmackDown? It's the same guy that narrates AEW. Next on Dynamite, blah, 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 blah. And Cody, Dynamite starts now. It's the same fucking guy. Did anybody notice it yesterday? Did anybody notice it? I noticed it immediately, but I was chilling. I didn't want to go on Twitter. Yeah, nobody noticed it yesterday. Think I'm kidding? Any of you out there, seriously, I'm not BSing you. Go on YouTube and whatever they aired yesterday, I don't know if it might have been the Crown. You know, I can't play the audio here because I don't want to get any copyright issues. But if you check out, I think the commercial was for the King of the Ring, but if you check out the 2 commercials they aired yesterday, one of them was the same commentator, the same guy that says AEW starts now. Same guy. Used to happen with TNA. You'd have the same guy, not for the pay-per-views, though. That guy was awesome. He passed away recently. I can't remember his name right now. But I'm telling you, go check it out. I'm not kidding. Yeah, I would not throw that out there, everyone, unless I was sure. I mean, I was not on any medicinal items yesterday. It definitely happened. I'm telling you. So, yeah. You know what? You should check that out and go on Twitter and say, hey, everyone, you don't even have to give me credit for it. Take the credit for yourself. Say, hey, everyone, did you notice WWE is now using the same guy that hypes up the AEW stuff, and then you'll have all the AEW whack jobs go, oh, you see, now WWE's even got to copy their announcer for commercials. I'm telling you, Barry Scott was awesome, man. I played that clip of him doing Martin Luther King Jr., and I'll leave everybody with this because we're at 2 hours, 12, and I'm going to be back here in 48 hours with Mish, and we'll definitely talk about the rest of the draft, and hopefully we'll get supplementals go down at that time live while we're doing the show. But what I always remember about Barry Scott was when he passed, I was watching some of his non-wrestling stuff online, and I saw him do a performance, a one-man performance, and he was reciting Martin Luther King Jr. And I was so taken back by it that I put it on the show, and, you know, I checked to see that I was going to, you know, be able to do it, and I didn't monetize that episode because I wanted everybody to see it. And what I'll always remember, and the episode is still on here. If you go on my channel and just type in Barry Scott, the episode will pop right up. If you watch the chat room while he's reciting MLK, the chat room does not, it does for about 2 minutes, nobody writes a comment. Everybody was just glued to Barry Scott. And that was something that really, things like that you remember, they really mean something. And it was pretty awesome. It was pretty freaking awesome, you know, and it'll give you chills, So, yeah, it's got to be a year ago. So, did anybody happen to check yet that commercial yesterday with WWE? I'd love to go off the air to everybody knows, but I'm telling you, it's the same guy. If it's not the same guy, then WWE went out and hired his twin brother. I'm telling you, it was him. It was definitely him. In fact, you know what I'll do? After I put the show online, if you happen to pull it, tweet me so I could, you know, retweet you. But if nobody pulls it, then I'm going to pull it, and then I'm going to tweet it. But I can't believe nobody, even the AEW whack jobs out there, and it's whack jobs on both sides, please. Not trying to make it seem like only AEW, you know, both sides have it. But I can't believe none of them yesterday went and said, look at WWE, they're now using AEW's commentator because they have to copy everything. I'm telling you. They did a commercial yesterday. I don't know if it was for Crown Jewel. I don't know if it was for the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown. But I was watching SmackDown yesterday and taking notes. And I heard the voice, and I was like, holy shit, it's the same guy that does AEW Dynamite starts now. It's the same guy. I'm telling you. I would not be this passionate about it just to lie to you. I mean, there's always a chance that I got it way wrong, but you know me. I mean, if I was not sure, I would have rewound it 2 or 3 times. I'm telling you. It'll be a nice conversation piece. I'm going to go check it out. So, but anyway, I'm going to jet out of here. So, great show tonight. Sorry we didn't take as many calls as I expected to, but, you know, I mean, great conversation with Kevin and with Liz. And, you know, I look, I love a female's perspective on wrestling. It's fun. I don't specifically look out to talk to men or women. You know, I mean, one thing you all got to admit, and I even think a lot of the ladies tuning in will admit right now, there's a lot of people out there who will put the women influence on their shows to try to attract like additional, you know, like a female audience, or instead of putting someone on there that is worthy, that talks, has a great combo. I mean, some people's shows, Mish knows what I'm talking about. And please, everyone, this is not a Kevin Gassel shot. It has nothing to do with him. He doesn't, you know, it's not even that. It's not that. But there are a lot of wrestling shows out there that have been ruined because they felt like, oh, you know, we need to plug like women's shows and only women's shows and only black shows and only this and only that and only this. But, you know, oh, post your show name so I could give it a shout out. And then you go and you check out that person's show and they only get 60 viewers. And then you realize, oh, okay, they're using the other agenda to try to attract more viewers. And man, you attract viewers simply because you do a good show and you have great conversations. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, straight, gay, male, female, married, single, 10 toes, 20 toes, doesn't matter. So anyway, I'm out of here. Have a great night, everyone. Nobody looked yet. That commentator, I'm telling you, I'm not wrong on this one. So show your skin. I'll show you skin. My flabby bicep. Big shout out to what's that guy's name? Brad Shepard. Last week when I blew up the Goldberg thing filled with water, I was wearing a size 3X shirt. I wore an old black shirt because in case I got like Goldberg water on me or plastic or stuff, like I didn't want to ruin a good shirt. So what happens when you wear a 3X shirt? Everything looks baggy. So, you know, I deserved it. Look, I said I think of shit when I think of him. Some people told me to lighten up on him a little bit. I will. But he came back to me. He's like, oh, nice tits there. I'm like, nice tits. Are you kidding me? My tits aren't that saggy. But I deserved it. If Brad happens to hear this, I deserved it. Touche. But some of you told me he's not that bad of a guy. So I don't know. I think of a lot of things from yesteryear that make me think otherwise. But if you all tell me, lay off on him, then I'll lay off on him. So anyway, have a great weekend. Still, anybody checking out? No, nobody checked out yet. I'm going to look. Let me get this show online. I'll go check it out. And again, if you find it before I do, tweet me it. Otherwise, the minute I find it, I'm going to post it on there and say, hey, look, everybody, does this voice sound familiar? Make sure you check out my Twitter tonight, @DonTonyD. I will make sure it is on my page within the next 30 minutes. All I'm going to write is, hey, does this voice sound familiar, anybody? I'll put that emoji where it's like, good night, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright, he's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.